In for Steiny today, Kevin Michael Whitey Gleason. Thanks for being with us, Guru. Having a blast. Thank you.
I'm having a blast, too.
Yeah.
It gets better now.
Yes, it does, because we're going to talk to somebody who actually knows what's going on with the 49ers. Nice enough to join us, our 95.7 The Game 49er insider, the one and only Cam Inman. Cam, are you still reeling from the aftershocks caused by the fact that Trey was not named a captain yesterday?
No, I'm just trying to get some hydration in me after being out in 99 degrees. I think that's got to be the hottest practice I've been at in forever here. So, I mean, we weren't on there that long. But captainship-wise, I'm not reeling because, first of all, it is a surprise because he's a quarterback. And the only teams that have announced their captains that don't have a quarterback among them are the Seahawks, the Browns, and the Niners. But I thought Trey Lance put it in just a great way yesterday when he said, it's just, in the NFL, you have to earn things. And obviously he hasn't earned it yet. His position he's earned, but he's got to play and show his team he's going to lead that way.
Yeah, at the risk, Cam, of making too much of it, didn't they? The thing that's a little bit interesting to me is they had 7 captains last year, and so Trey is 7th in the voting, but they just don't have 7 captains this year. They only have 6 because Kyle said, well, we didn't want to have 8. So, I mean, they could have had 7 captains, right, if they wanted.
But I think it circles back to the point of he wants Lance to earn the captainship. Just like, look, Garoppolo didn't have it in 2018, right? Mm-hmm. But he had just signed this massive contract. You knew he was the quarterback of the future, but it's kind of an ode to give it to somebody who's left. Now, I disagree with people that say, well, it goes to the older veterans that have been around. That's not true. George Kittle won it in his second year in 2018. Okay, that was hey, this guy's going to be a leader, and he was for a few years, and now everybody's freaking out that the 5-time captain's not on the practice field. But back to the captainship. I do think it's important because, these are your leaders. And when Nick Bosa is going to be up for Defensive Player of the Year in a few months, that you would all hope, and people are going to say, oh, yeah, he's a captain. That's something that he didn't have in past years, so he obviously stepped his game up this year. Where really did he? No, he's been he's been captain-ish the last few years by leading by the way he plays.
Cam, I'm so excited to talk to you. We've been talking to you, and we were so far from the season starting, and here we are, man, just 4 more days, and we got football tonight, and I'm part of it. I expect the Niners to blow Chicago out, but I'm like, you know what? It's a new quarterback. That's already excitement in itself. But on the Cam Inman computer, when you got yesterday's news about 85, maybe did that wreck your computer? Because now I'm worried about that more than the O-line and everything else that I was concerned with. Talk to us.
Let me talk you off the ledge here because I don't think that this game is going to come down to Tyler Croft or Ross Dwelly or Charlie. Okay. I think that Kyle Shanahan has every other great all-star and piece of his puzzle ready to go. Not having the best tight end in the league obviously is nothing that you'd want going into the season opener. But I think it was stunning because I saw him on the practice field on Monday. He was George. George takes care of his body probably as good as anybody on this team outside of Nick Bosa, right? And I don't know how serious of an injury it is. I just know that when Shanahan announced it, there were as few words as possible to say so, which to me is, he likes to say, well, it could be day to day. Well, he's used that in the past, and the guy's been out for weeks or months. And I'm sure George is getting an MRI and has done all that. So, it's not great, but I think, in this game, it's going to be a lot of run. And George is a great run blocker. But, the Niners have enough capable blockers out there, and they're just going to, I think, and how Shanahan's going to scheme it up in ways where I'm pretty sure the Bears haven't seen.
Cam, speaking of the blocking, what's your best guess here? What is Kyle Shanahan's level of faith in the offensive line right now? What, based on what you've seen, should the level of faith 49er fans have in that offensive line be?
I'd have a lot more faith in Shanahan than the line. How about I put it that way? Because I think he's going to be able to cover for them as they kind of learn how to play together and get that cohesiveness. Look, in a few years, this could be the best line in the NFL because they've gone through growing pains together, right? It's a young group. Trent Williams probably has a few more years left. But even today at practice, I'm watching Trent in the offensive lineman drills, and as they're finishing up, he's got Aaron Banks off to the side, and he's doing one-on-one tutoring with him, and I love it. Everybody knows Banks is going to be new and raw to everything, but when you got Trent Williams right next to you in practice and in games, it's going to be a great opportunity for him to learn And there's going to be so much. How do I say this without giving away what the Niners are doing? I just think they're a motion-based offense, right? We've known that for years. And I think there's going to be a lot of bodies moving where people aren't going to be just watching a guard or a center hold their block for 3 seconds. I think there's a lot of stuff going to get done before those 3 seconds eclipse.
Oh, I love it. Cam, we're fired up. We're ready to go. Talk to us about the running backs, because I go back to Mostert, and I used to tell Steiny, man, why don't they give it to him 30 times? I understand that's not the way Kyle does it. He disperses it, throughout the running back committee room. I'm looking at other guys like Jeff Wilson Jr. How many carries can we expect Elijah Mitchell to carry the load in Chicago? Like, what's that number, 15 to 20?
I think that's fair. You know what? Go back to a year ago, and Elijah Mitchell had his biggest output of the season was in Chicago. And remember that 5-yard go-ahead touchdown early in the fourth quarter when you had 10 guys pushing him into the end zone? I talked to him about that yesterday. He was fired up about it. He said the same mentality this year. He is healthy. He sat out those preseason games. He had a hamstring. He looks healthy. He looks ready to go, but it's not all on him. There's going to be so many options back there. And he even said so yesterday in the locker room that there's going to be so many options the Bears aren't going to know, like, what's coming at them, right? And it's not just Mitchell. It's not just Trey Lance. It's not just Jeff Wilson Jr. You could go. There's Debo still around. There's other wide receivers that can get the ball. It's going to be fun to watch, I would think. I don't think this is going to all of a sudden be a 50-carry game and they pass 2 times. I don't think they're going to revert to that old style of offense, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be inventive. And this is what we've been waiting for from Shanahan, right? He's got the quarterback that has all these skills where he can open up his playbook. Now, he doesn't have to open it up all in week 1, and I don't think he will. But I think there'll be just a taste out there where people are going to go, oh, man, the Niners are going to be something to deal with, because you're not going against the most formidable defense. There's no Khalil Mack waiting in your path.
Cam Inman with us, of course, our 49er insider. I know that the Bears have a new coach, and he's a defensive-minded coach. He's had a lot of success, Coach Eberflus. So the Bears they should be a little more formidable defensively. But last year, they were bad, and their secondary was dreadful. So in a way, is this an almost ideal situation for Trey? You're making your debut. If the 49ers could handpick an opponent for him to face in his first game, wouldn't the Bears be at least on that list of teams you'd look at?
It's funny you say that, because I just had an instant flashback to 2012 when Colin Kaepernick made his first start on Monday Night Football against
the Bears,
Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
And before that game, Steve Young was telling us down on the field, the Niners are going to be real conservative. They're just going to run the ball a lot, not let the rookie or let Kaepernick Kaepernick, second-year quarterback, mind you, at the time, make too many mistakes. And Cap goes out there and throws these just like lasers downfield, and it was just, he put on a show, right? And Alden Smith, I think, had 5.5 sacks to help out defensively. So Bosa can get 5.5 sacks tomorrow. Trey Lance can throw it all over the field. Introduce everybody to Danny Gray, Brandon Ayuk, Debo, McLeod. That's definitely an option, especially if you don't have George Kittle to throw little dink and dunks to over the middle. So it could be fascinating.
Cam, let me ask you about 54, man. Fred Warner, I believe one of the best backers in the game. And I won't dare tell you or anybody listening that he had a bad year last year. But if I used the word, just, it wasn't as dynamic. He didn't jump off the screen. Would you say that's fair? And what do you expect from him this season?
Well, I think Fred would say it's fair. Fred has said it. He just said he didn't start last year great. He finished so strong, though, and he rallied that defense up. And, going into the Packers playoff game, he demanded that somebody get the ball, and it turned out he was one that recovered a fumble that kind of helped set the tone and change the tide of that game. He has been a real ornery cuss on the field, I guess, all throughout camp. He has been getting under the offensive skin, and that was the camp Fred Warner. Now he can unleash that on opponents. Like just watching him today in practice, or just watching him do his warm-ups, and he always is the one that's kind of like leading the charge into the pre-practice huddle and just kind of high-fiving and just, running with his knees high and just super happy. And he is ready to go. He looks like he's back to all-pro Fred, and that's good. Because the Bears have installed an offense that wants to be like Shanahan to run the wide zone scheme and rely on their running back David Montgomery and Justin Fields. So that's going to mean that the defensive ends are going to have to like pinch and not allow them to bust on the outside, and try to funnel it right up the middle into Fred Warner's lap.
Cam, you mentioned the wide zone scheme, and Guru and I were discussing the fact that, a few years ago, it's like anybody who ever had lunch with Sean McVay was offered a head coaching job, and I remember making fun of that. But then, it continues. Teams are having success with it, and it's all over the NFL. I know the Bears are implementing that now, a version of that. And Green Bay, of course, has had success, and the Bengals had success. Is there something that Shanahan does that's different from the way other teams, even teams that embrace this attack and have for years, something Shanahan does different than those other teams?
Besides the schemes, right? Because like he likes to say, you don't reinvent the wheel. It's just figuring out where the mismatch is. Yeah. But it's also your personnel. Like what size are your offensive linemen? How fast are your running backs? Are they one cut and go guys? If they're these guys that want to sit around and wait for the hole to develop, it's not going to usually work out too well. And like you said, a lot of teams are kind of adapting to it. So what does that mean? That means Shanahan's probably going to do something a little bit different. I'd expect them to run a little bit more power football this season. They got some beef on that line. And you got some bigger running backs ready to carry the ball in Ty Davis-Price. J.P. Mason's kind of bigger, Jeff Wilson Jr. And then you have Mitchell's speed that he can find a nice little hole and get moving fast through it. So, I think it's also that unpredictability aspect. And that's really what Shanahan thrives on. It's not just, hey, they know we're coming with this. He's going to be, I think, a little bit more creative. He was really creative, I think, his first couple seasons, and everybody was digging it. And then it kind of seemed like he took the foot off the pedal the last few years with that offensive ingenuity, and I think now it's going to ramp right back up.
Awesome. Cam, thanks for your time. We appreciate it. We look forward to talking to you again soon.
It's go time.
Happy opening kickoff.
Yes, thank you.